What's up, everyone? Tyler DeLuca here, back with my top 3 takeaways from this past week in women's college basketball. We are now in conference tournament season, but there was some build-up to be done to get into it. Let's talk about it. First up for me, let's talk about the Big 12, the Kansas Jayhawks. So this was the team coming into this season that I thought would honestly be on the same trajectory as their rival, Kansas State. So what's been interesting is that hasn't really happened. They won the NIT last year. You bring back pretty much everyone from that team, and you add Samaya Nichols, one of the best freshmen, one of the probably most underrated freshmen across the entire country, let alone in the Big 12 this year. And she's been fantastic in this run that they've been on. They've been on an incredible run. 8 of the last 9 Big 12 games have been wins, including wins over Kansas State and Oklahoma, and I think they've now solidified their spot in the March Madness tournament. But what's interesting to me is that the timing of them getting it rolling, because like I said, I thought this was a team that could be a top 25 team, that could be, like I said, essentially what Kansas State did. I thought both Kansas State and Kansas would be kind of in that same area. Obviously, that hasn't happened. But I love the balance that this team has. They have plenty of guard talent. Like I said, I mentioned Samaya Nichols, who's been absolutely hooping. They have Tiana Jackson down low, who's one of the best defenders in the nation. I think she is an incredible sleeper pick for this WNBA draft that is upcoming. They just interest me. They're now kind of showing the team that I expected them to be. And that has been very, very fun to watch. And also very intriguing when you think about them being a lower seed in the March Madness tournament, in the Big 12 tournament, and seeing what type of damage they can do. Because they have the talent for it. It just hasn't really come together until now. And I don't exactly know the reason why for that, frankly. But it's coming together now. It's looking better. It's looking the best that it's had, and it couldn't be happening at a better time. So Kansas is a team to keep your eye on for a potential Cinderella run-esque type of postseason, whether that be in the Big 12 or March Madness. They're a team I'm keeping my eye on. Samaya Nichols has been incredible. Tiana Jackson's been incredible. I'm a fan. Next up, a similar point. Notre Dame is absolutely rolling at the right time. Like I said, a similar point to what I just made with Kansas. They're a little bit different, though, because Notre Dame has had injury after injury this season, but ultimately, they're rolling at the right time. That's just kind of the theme of this episode, is rolling at the right time. We're going to talk about some teams that might not be doing that next, but let's talk about Notre Dame, because Hannah Hidalgo, man, oh man, Hannah Hidalgo, video game numbers. She is unreal. They have back-to-back wins against number 5 Virginia Tech and number 22 Louisville, and she was unreal in both those games. I mean, they're now in prime position with Oklahoma losing to Kansas, the team I just mentioned. They are in prime position to host a game, or the first 2 rounds in the March Madness tournament right now as a top 16 seed, as a 4 seed. Could potentially go higher if they make some stuff shake in the ACC tournament, which I think that they absolutely could. I might even pick them right now with the way that they're playing. So they're on a roll. Hannah Hidalgo is unreal. I mean, there's really no other way to put it. Freshman of the year, defensive player of the year in the ACC. She led the team in points, rebounds, assists, and steals against Virginia Tech. Like, that's not even getting into the defense that doesn't show up in the box score for Notre Dame. I mean, all in all, she is just so incredibly good, and Notre Dame has fought through injuries. They continue to do so, but they just look really good right now. And like I said, we'll have to see kind of where it takes them, because right now they look like they're hosting as a 4th seed. I could see them making their way up to a 3 seed if they really, really take this ACC tournament and make it theirs. And when you have a player like Hannah Hidalgo, you can do that. You absolutely can do that. So I'm excited to see what they do in this ACC tournament, and really excited to see what Hannah Hidalgo does in her first postseason play. Last but not least, I hate that there's even been enough of these to acknowledge, but the injuries this past week have been brutal, and you're talking about some major players here. Liz Kitley for Virginia Tech, ACC Player of the Year now, 3 times ACC Player of the Year. I mean, she is one of the greatest to ever do it in the ACC at this point. Like, there's no kind of way around that. The accolades speak for itself. She's been incredibly dominant this season, and now, at the worst time, she goes down with a knee injury. And from this moment right now, we haven't heard anything. It hasn't seemed incredibly optimistic. I don't want to speculate or anything, but obviously, Virginia Tech is a top 10 team right now. They're in the works in trying to get a 1 seed. Probably won't end up with that now. But I mean, when you talk about a team that relies on a player, yes, they have Georgia Amore, but Liz Kitley is Virginia Tech. They're a duo together, but the duo needs each other, I feel like. And man, if Liz Kitley is not available in postseason play for Virginia Tech, that their ceiling just lowers significantly. And it's not to anyone's fault or anything. That's just the way that they've kind of built themselves, and understandably so. You got Liz Kitley. So that is something that monitor. Mackenzie Holmes for Indiana is a similar story, also a leg injury. And from what we've heard from her, another one that we haven't had any significant word on, is that they seem a little more optimistic than Liz Kitley. But obviously another team in Indiana that I feel like hasn't been getting nearly enough love. I think they lost to Stanford early in this season, and everyone kind of just forgot about them and decided that they just were kind of done this year. And that just hasn't been the case. They beat Iowa, and I was like, okay, well, now people are going to start talking about them. And then it still just kind of didn't happen. But obviously, if you don't have Mackenzie Holmes, they don't have the talent to keep up the level of play that they've been at with Mackenzie. And like I said, it sounds more optimistic than Liz Kitley. But, man, that would be another huge, huge miss for Indiana, another team that's built around their big, both of those teams. And another one I want to shout out, Molly Davis for Iowa, a key role player for them. That's a huge loss for the Big Ten tournament. It sounds like she's going to be back for March Madness, but that's brutal. That is a brutal, brutal loss. And right now, when some teams are playing their best basketball and you have other teams that are just down on their luck with injuries, it is brutal at this time of year. The gauntlet is coming when it comes to these games with both postseason tournaments, with conference and March Madness. It's only going to get tougher, and the wear and tear is only going to grow. So it's something to kind of keep an eye on, and obviously best wishes for all three of those players to make healthy recoveries, because they're all major, major parts of their teams, and if they're not around, the trajectory of their teams go down. So best wishes of them, and we'll have to see how those teams play out. All right, y'all, that's going to do it for my 3 takeaways from this past week in women's college basketball. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time.